talking, and I need more of a show right now. It's time that you made your mind up, 'cause lately all it ever does is change. Feels like we're only talking, going round and around, back around. I will fight like no other every day. I won't stop like the others. I will stay. 'Cause now is the right time, and I'm feeling alright. I'm playing your game like I know I can win right now. You got me on tonight, 'cause loving you is like I'm walking a tightrope so high. I won't be turning around, no, I won't be turning around. It's the right time, you feeling alright. I'm playing your game like I will win tonight. I think I'll do it on my way. I'm gonna show you what I'm going through, get you out of your comfort zone, 'cause I need more of the truth right now. It's time that you made your mind up, 'cause lately all it ever does is change. Feels like we're only talking, going round and around, back around. I will fight like no other every day. I won't stop like the others. I will stay. 'Cause now is the right time, and I'm feeling alright. I'm playing your game like I know I can win right now. You got me on tonight, 'cause loving you is like I'm walking a tightrope so high. I won't be turning around, no, I won't be turning around. It's the right time, you feeling alright. I'm playing your game like I will win tonight. Don't forget it, don't forget it, don't forget it. We'll turn this around. Don't forget it, don't forget it, don't forget it. We'll turn this around.
We just want to say a huge thank you for your participation. We absolutely love to see you get involved. So the only things left to do now are to sit back, relax, have you got your munchies, and enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to Geeksvana Live. I am checking my microphone. Sorry if anybody did place a bet on it being muted the first time, but there we go. It's switched on as far as I'm aware anyway. It's great to see everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Tonight's main topic is how to care for your drone, but we've got some other stuff coming up as well, including some very cool helicopter close formation flying. I know it's not drones, but there's a reason we're playing it out tonight. And an amazing viewer video later on, which really cannot be missed. And of course, we'll be speaking to my co-host and drone colleague, Stephen Sutton from Fly-ByGuys, who is our co-host this evening with his wealth of expertise. And we're going to be talking about METARs. METARs? UTARs, no ITARs, METARs. Okay, that joke didn't work, never mind. Just a quick reminder for the members of the channel. Straight after the show, we're going to be holding the monthly members meetup, which is basically where we're going to meet up in Zoom straight after the show. The link we put straight into the members section of the community tab, so it should come out to you as a notification to members. Otherwise, you can find it there. Come in and join us, have a chat, say hi. We'll be doing that straight after the show. Depending on how much we tire Stephen out tonight, he might even join us as well. You never know. Speaking of which, let's bring Stephen in, shall we? Hello, sir.
Hello.
How are you?
Good evening. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm very, very good, thank you.
Yes.
Yes. We had a couple of jokes in the chat about issues with on the technical side of things. I would just like to tell everyone that I had a major power cut here today, so there are a couple of things that aren't working properly on the live stream tonight. But hopefully they're things you won't notice. They're things I'll notice. But there we go. Just very quickly to rattle off some names that are in the chat. Crowded Space Drones, Andrew. Hello, sir. We actually probably need to make him a moderator. Actually.
You sure you want to do that?
Put user in timeout. Is that the button? No, right. Add moderator. There you go. Crowded Space Drones is now a moderator. Andy Keast, hi. Stevie Capture Life Connection, good to see you. Simon Everett, hello, sir. Good to see you, sir. Else Meghead, Andy, hi, sir. Really great to see such a great audience here. A lot of the names that I see in the comment section, an awful lot as well. So now we do have our new super chat music, which we get to play nice and early this week. Oh, look, it works. Skycam Video, thank you very much. £2 super chat just to keep you going, Sean. Well, I really appreciate that, sir. Thank you. So this evening we're going to be talking about how to care for your drone, etc. But just wanted to play a couple of clips from a very interesting video that was sent to me. Actually, if you remember, Stephen, we had a video on the channel this week regarding the I'm a Celebrity castle, as I call it.
Yes.
Where obviously there was a warning NOTAM put on the Drone Assist app, and everywhere else it's a NOTAM, so it's a notice to airmen, asking people not to fly over the castle and that type of thing. After the video, I was actually in contact with a chap from a company called GB Helicopters, who's actually the guy that flew the contestants in the helicopters, which obviously they come in that sweeping formation. I don't watch the show, so I'm not sure.
I seen your video and it was very cool.
Okay. Yes, because there was a little clip from the lady from the PR department of the castle showing them coming in. It was a very cool formation, wasn't it?
It was very cool.
So for the US viewers, this is a show called I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, where basically celebrities are put in a it's supposed to be like in the outback of Australia, and they have to eat bugs and things, and if they can't handle it anymore, they say,
I'm a celebrity, get me out of here.
And then they get to leave, basically.
I've never seen it myself.
No, yeah. That was actually pretty impressive for someone that hasn't seen it. Well done, sir. They come swooping in these helicopters. Now, the reason we did that video was because it is genuinely a very dangerous thing to fly into a space where it's not actually a red no-fly zone, but it's a warning zone asking you to contact the sponsor. We actually had a couple of videos sent to us from one of the chap that runs the helicopter company, and really to show you the kind of things that are happening in the airspace at the moment and the reason why we shouldn't perhaps be flying our drones in the airspace. Here's the first clip showing the helicopters taking off in their little formation, which is pretty cool. It was amazing, wasn't it? Was it great precision? It's just phenomenal. And that was just a little. They actually had to respray the helicopters black. They did have a little livery on them, but to make them look sort of dark and moody for the and in unison for the show, that they resprayed it. There's I'm going to put a link in the description after the show to their Facebook channel, because there's actually a video showing them respraying them, which is quite cool.
I'm feeling a bit inferior now.
Oh no, it isn't what you've got. It's how you fly it.
True.
Huh?
True.
Hang on, I think I've got a sound effect to back that up.
Yeah, boy!
Sorry for anyone that's that's using their headphones for that one. That was a little bit loud. We had to play the Super Chat music again. Here we go. And thank you very much, Crowded Space Drones, for becoming a Drone Club member. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it. You can become a member. In fact, let me put a little link in the chat. You can become a member by following a link. There's also a join on Android, I think it is. I don't think it's on iOS. There's a little link that says join just below the video on most devices. So you can have a look there. You get things like custom emojis, lots of awesome content, including a weekly podcast, which is for members only, which we've had people like Matt Williams, Ready Set Drone, Kelly Shaw's on there, and Lib was a guest one week as well, actually. So just very quickly, thank you as well to, was it Lindsay? Somebody pointed out the fact it's not a castle, it's a folly.
Oh, really?
Skycam video, thank you. I didn't actually know that it was actually classed as a folly, but I like to get things accurate, so it's very cool. There's also a little promo video that they put out for the helicopters, which I thought was worth playing out for a couple of minutes as well. How incredible is that? That's some great flying, isn't it? And one thing you pointed out is that, of course, some of those shots must have been taken by drone, where they're getting really close into the cockpits there on the pullback.
It's just flying over that prop. It was very close, but
Yeah.
it was very sexy.
Yeah, very sexy, isn't it? But after the show, we'll have all the links to the videos that we're playing out in the description for you to go back and visit. I'd recommend doing so, especially following their Facebook page, because they often put little shots up there of different things they're doing. I had a lot of fun looking through that page, actually. Hi to Simon Hawkins in the chat. Good to see you. Mike Drennan, Ray Kelly, Trevor Kerr-Lewis. Great to see you all. Really appreciate you all coming. Coast to Coast Drones, forgive me, but I thought this was the drone pre-flight. I know my wife will divorce me if I suddenly change hobbies. It might be a little bit more expensive as well, sir. And Andy Keys, thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. A £2 super chat. And would you like to read out what his message is there, Stephen?
Yeah, that's towards a new tree.
Because Stephen's tree's looking a little bit sad. I think it might be the angle. That's what she said. That's what she said, but I think it is the angle. I think, yeah, and are you going to adjust it live on air? There you go. This is what the people are coming for. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Looks a bit happier. Thank you. I must try that myself later. Okay, so I wanted to very quickly catch up with you, Stephen, and see how you are, see what's been going on for you at the because you look like with your failing tree beside you, look like you're in Finland still, so you're not sort of globe hopping at the moment.
Yes, I'm in Finland at the moment. Yeah, I'm just getting ready to start my travels again, so I'll be heading to the Middle East.
Ooh.
And I'll be in the Middle East from next month for about 2 months. So
Excellent.
I'll be there doing drone operations for the entire, let's say, December and January. So
we
I'll
might get to
be
see some of the
back.
Middle East then on the live streams.
Yes, you will. We
Yes.
will.
Yes.
Once
What
I
are you
know
doing
my-
there? What are you doing in the Middle East, Stephen? Would you like to give us an exclusive?
I can't say what I'm doing in the Middle East. I can't
Okay.
say.
Are
I'm
you
not allowed
flying
to.
drones?
Yes.
No comment. Okay, I'll stop treading all over your NDA now, shall I?
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, we've got some fantastic videos coming up as well. There are some really good viewer videos, which I'm very excited about playing out. A couple of them in particular. You'll have to guess which ones when you see them. But we'll move on tonight to our main subject, which is, of course, looking after your drone. And this is a subject that, for me as a hobbyist, and also for Stephen as a professional, that it's very close to our hearts, because we both feel that a lot of the failures that we hear as far as crashes and that type of thing and issues that people have could actually be sometimes crashes can't be avoided, but they could sometimes be avoided by a little bit of maintenance, really, couldn't they? And a little bit of pre-flight.
Yes. And I think that, after we were talking, I think last week or even the week before as well, we were talking about that what we are doing, even as hobbyists, because even when you look at the RC,
even as hobbyists, he says.
Looking
down on us hobbyists. Thanks.
No, absolutely not. I'm just saying, because when you have, for example, the RC crowd, they are hobbyists, but they are safety. They are safety orientated. Because they build. They are checking all the time. It's something that is really built into it. So, and I feel that maybe in a sense of legislation, even like of DJI, are not emphasizing how to do these checks. It's something that they just sell the drone from the shop or wherever you buy it from, and it's just
exactly
there you go. And people just take these things out of the box because they're so easy to fly. In fact, in a sense, they're too easy to fly. But that's when you can make mistakes, and not being able to check things like even propellers, which is a very basic thing.
Indeed,
you can have lots of problems, such as maybe they could be cracked.
Yes.
They could get frozen, and again, this is something that we'll touch on tonight, which can happen to us all.
Yes, exactly, and it isn't saying, as you were saying, and I was taking the mickey there, but of course it is true. It happens to us all, and it doesn't matter. Actually, the most observant people, and sometimes the least observant people who seem to be the ones that get away with it a lot of the time. Actually, now there is a link in the description, or it certainly should be there by now, for a pre-flight checklist, which is actually from the Fly-ByGuys, and the link will take you across to their website, and you can download it. There's no registering, there's no data, there's nothing else like that. It's just a link. Download the PDF, and it is an excellent checklist, I have to say. It's one that I've started using now as well. It's comprehensive. There's always going to be bits on it that some of us do and don't do, but at least you have that one comprehensive list, and we're going to work through a little bit of that right now. So, and we have, so that we can, when we're talking through it, we have my new tech camera, where we can show the drones and point at things, etc., which will be all good fun. So let's work up through a few of the highlights of the list. And first of all is obviously checking airspace restrictions. Now, this is something that I personally, I don't know about you, Stephen, but when I'm flying, obviously as a hobbyist, I actually like to check airspace restrictions both the day before and also the day of the flight, because of course you don't know what's going on. A little bit like we were talking about the I'm a Celebrity folly. I keep wanting to call it a castle, where actually, you could have checked that the day before the NOTAM was out, and it would have looked clear. So the next day you go along and fly and you get in trouble and you wonder why. Well, actually, that's why you should be checking things like the Drone Assist app and NOTAMs specifically. You can go to the CAA Skywise and sign up so that you can basically have that come through, which will obviously help you out an awful lot as well. That to me is certainly number one on the list.
Yes. And because I think, even what Andrew was talking about, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that he was, I don't know if he was talking about his live on air or it was when we were off camera, but, he was saying that there were times when you would have the royal family when they were going from
that was on
places.
Air. Yes.
So you can have these no-fly zones, so you can have these places that are just showing up, where it's, where it's not planned. So that's
right.
Why you really should check, because you never know if there's diplomats, if
you'd be surprised. You would be surprised.
And it does happen. It does happen. We had one here last year. I actually remember, because we can see in advance if there's going to be no-fly zones that are going to be put into Helsinki. And then we had one day, and it wasn't planned, and it was there, and nobody knew why. But we found out that there was a Russian foreign minister was actually visiting, and of course they had to keep it quiet for some reason or whatever. But then they just, it was just there, so we couldn't have any operations on a day. So I mean, as checking these things on a daily basis,
it's very important. Very important.
Don't take for granted.
No, exactly, and it's the same in the States with the no-fly zones above stadiums and that type of thing. And if there's been an incident where they need one up there as well. Just very quickly, thank you, Roger from Canadian Drone Hub, for your $5 super chat. Great info as always. It's really great to see you, sir. Hope you are well.
Hi, Roger. Hi, Roger. How are you doing?
Yeah, Roger had some sad news this week where Roxy, his loyal old pup, isn't with us. So R.I.P. Roxy. I hope you're doing okay, Roger. I haven't spoken to you personally since then, but I will be on the stream at some point in the next few days to check in and see how you are, sir. So we'll move on to condition of the drone before it takes off, which I think is an important one. And for this one, I will switch across to my tech camera, but we can still hear both of us. So obviously you need to check over the actual, let me get to focus there, the condition of the drone itself. Now I've chosen a couple of different drones. One just so it isn't just a DJI show, that there are other drones here. I do have a Parrot and Affy as well, but I chose to bring up my Bebop 2 because it's good to show a fixed prop and a fixed frame drone from the point of view that obviously it's really important to check everywhere along the lines here to make the actual frame itself, the central frame, is good. You're going to get more stress fractures on non-foldable drones, which I know are a little rarer these days. Most drones seem to fold up, and yeah, it's important to have a really good look. Perhaps not at a magnifying glass every time you fly, but I would certainly say once a week, because I've been surprised at the damage I've picked up when flying when I didn't even know that it actually got damaged, which is crazy, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, it's very important to really check the structures every now and then, because on those startups, I mean, you could get some damage, and that's why I think that certainly with the Mavic Air 2 and the Mavic the Mavic Pro 2, I saw the Mavic 2 Pro, is that you should unfold those props, because if you keep them folded and start the motor up, it can it can actually cause.
Yes, and in actual fact, there was a very good video on Droning On's channel.
That's right.
Specifically about that, and he showed the slow motion effects of not unfolding your props.
That's right.
And that was fascinating, actually. So yeah, that's a really important thing to do. Again, obviously, like the Mavic Air 2 obviously has the folding props and the folding, whereas the Mavic Air 1 has those unfoldable props. Now, it sounds obvious, doesn't it, when you're talking about checking things for damage, that you look at it and you think, okay, these props all look okay to me, but in actual fact, there is on this prop here. If I put my finger behind it and get it to focus, you can just see on the edge there. There's quite a bad scuffing starting to appear.
Yes.
On the following edge. Actually, yeah, there is the follow edge. And actually, that is the kind of thing that people don't realise, that in flight could end up being a crack. That, of course, a crack then becomes a tear, and a tear becomes you flying on three props, basically.
Yeah, of course.
And it's really important to check these things, isn't it? I know you've brought along an example to show us as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I actually just changed my props recently on my Mavic 2 Pro, and just before I was flying one day, what you should do, let's say before you fly, because I think we have this in there, is that you should literally run your fingers, actually up and down the props. That's
Sorry,
quite important.
could you just do that again, please?
Can I do this again?
Thank you.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
Oh, come on, it was irresistible.
So what I found when I was actually checking these props is, and I'll try to put it up here, hopefully you can see it in the camera, everyone. I'll fold this prop here actually, just so I can get near the camera. And what we have, I'll put it there. What we have, if you can see it, everyone,
you can just see it starting to chip away.
There's a crack.
Yeah.
Here, just right there.
So it's not as obvious all the time, is it, with the
No.
condition of them? So it's also worth as well. If I just move back to the tech camera, it's also worth. What I tend to do is give them a good old little wobble.
Yep.
You're not going to break anything, and in fact, if you do break something, well, if the prop starts to come apart, that's a good thing, because it's not very good. But sometimes there are little cracks that actually don't even show when the drone is just sitting there at rest, and if you give the prop a little wobble, it comes up very obviously.
Exactly.
And yeah,
but I think that for many people, when these drones fall out of the sky, they will look to blame something else. Because obviously when you look at the props after a crash, you'll think, the prop has cracked because of the crash. So you never really think that it's that was a cause of the accident, let's say. So that's why it's really important to check your props regularly. Just rub
Exactly.
your fingers up and down, and if you feel anything which is not quite right,
Yes.
I would honestly change.
Yeah.
I would change the prop.
There's also a very good telltale, which is a changing noise. If your drone doesn't sound the same as it normally sounds when you first take off, then something is probably wrong.
Yeah, and I think this is something which, if we can, let's say, talk a little bit about DJI Go 4 app compared to DJI Fly.
Yes.
I do like the DJI Fly app because it's very simplified.
It is.
Which is good. However, there's some bits of telemetry which are missing, like the revs of the props.
Yes.
But of course, if the drone is nearby, you can hear that there's something wrong. So if it dips, you know that there's something with the engine or maybe the props or something. Actually, ice can do that. Actually, so if you have ice on the props, that's adding more weight,
Yes.
which will make
Absolutely.
the motor go a bit slower, so you can hear. But of course, we're going to talk later on about how you can spot.
I'm actually finding myself with OCD having to put my props perfectly straight, so I'm going to have to put this away in a minute. My OCD is cracking and I'm having to line them up perfectly straight. Right, so next we'll talk about batteries very quickly from a pre-flight point of view. And this is one thing that actually has caught me out before. Now, it actually caught me out on my Bebop 1, where the batteries are actually strapped in with a piece of Velcro. But hey, it's a cheap drone. But you can actually sometimes sit your battery in, and it looks like, and it feels like it's sat in there properly. But actually, if I bring this close to my microphone, there, you can hear it click there. It wasn't actually sat in properly. And that can be a bit of a dangerous issue, can't it?
This is something which is different between if we look at the Mavic 2 Pro, that when you put the battery in, it actually clicks.
Yeah.
And it goes in. Whereas if we compare the Mavic Air 2, it doesn't really do that.
No, there's a little
yeah, but it's
grown men playing with batteries.
Yeah. There's something.
No, I know what you mean, because the 2 Pro has that click, really sort of loud clicking in. And another thing to check on the pre-flight, as far as batteries are concerned, is just make sure it's the right shape. Make sure that bottom of ABS is red. And I'll let you know when we're back.
I've just told everyone to refresh, just in case.
Thank you. Okay, and we're back. Right. Sorry about that, everybody. We seem to be the YouTube gods seem to decide that they didn't want us playing for a moment there. Now, I was just saying that with the batteries here, it's good to check that they're nice and flat. It isn't, with the intelligent batteries, especially on the DJIs, you don't tend to get too many issues. But I have seen some of even the recent models on Facebook where people are showing their batteries warping, and it is good. It is important just to give them the once over and make sure everything's okay. And as you say, make sure we get that proper clicking.
I actually have a video of this. If you take your battery out and show it again, and I'll show you what to do. So take your battery out, put it on the table. Okay, can you bring it over? And now just try to wobble it if you can.
Yeah, no wobble.
And if it doesn't wobble, then it's fine.
As long as you have a flat table.
True. But if you get a bit of wobble, then you will start. That's when it's starting to swell, because these are really flat. They are super flat. So that's a good. And I actually have a video on my channel about that where I show you that, because I had one battery which was actually swollen.
Yes. Indeed, absolutely. Just very quickly, thank you very much to Trevor Kerr-Lewis for your £5 super chat. Battery hibernation, would this be the best while out of action for a while? And actually, someone did ask that in the chat earlier. I was going to bring that up in a minute. What's your thoughts on batteries for people, obviously in lockdown, that type of thing, who might not be flying? What's your thoughts on storing the batteries for weeks on end?
Yeah, so you can just you can discharge them and put them somewhere where they're not going to be too hot or even too cold. Put them. Storing the batteries, even when you're using them, is quite a touchy issue, because where to keep the batteries that you don't lose charge because it's too warm, or lose the charge because it's too cold.
Yes.
But at the same time, just it's such a
And of course, it's worth noting that the intelligent batteries do actually drain themselves over time to bring themselves back to a safe storage point as well. So if you've got something like a DJI, it will do that over time automatically anyway. Which is also worth noting, because if you charge them up and then 7 days later you say, I'm going to go fly my Mavic Air 2, you should probably check if the batteries are still charged.
Always check.
One thing I would recommend, and this is something which again is a personal choice, and it shouldn't happen when you have a DJI Smart battery. They don't happen that often, but get a flammable bag, a LiPo bag from Amazon. They're not very expensive. Make sure they've got the proper ratings on them and that they've got very good reviews. So don't pay $3, but also you don't need to pay $30 for them. Little silver bags, and basically the idea of them is that they can withstand a fire of a certain amount of degrees. And that can really help you if you do have something that goes really wrong from that point of view. So yeah, very, very important. And again, obviously with pre-flight, it sounds obvious, but it's something that I did it a lot with this drone, the Mavic Air 1, because the gimbal's a little bit sort of, it's all protected under there. I really love the design of the Mavic Air 1 actually, and because it was like a bit of a clicky off here and the gimbal cover, it's important obviously to remember to remove your gimbal cover before you turn the drone on.
That's also in the pre-flight checklist.
It is indeed. Very important.
because if you don't remove, I mean, especially if you have the Mavic series, if you don't remove it, you will get the error.
Yes.
And even when you take the gimbal cover off, you'll still have the error. So you actually have to restart the drone to get the error away.
Yes, and of course, if it happens more than once or twice, you can actually end up damaging your gimbal as well, and that's going to require servicing or some kind of insurance job there.
Exactly.
And in terms of pre-flight as well, it's obviously important to check your safe areas. And when I say that, I mean where you're taking off from, where you're intending to fly to. Just have a look around and make sure there isn't anything that could change in the situation that could cause some issue if you had to land unexpectedly over towards where you're flying and filming and that type of thing. And also just plot out a couple of areas and think, okay, if I can't bring my drone back for some reason, I need to put it down where it is. Where am I going to do that? And even just have a little walk and just check out those spots and just make sure that you feel confident that you know that, rather than just hitting that return to home button, which isn't always the best thing to do, that you know what's going to happen. And that's one of the other pre-flight check things that I would recommend is plan your flight before you take off. And this will help in terms of saving battery, but again also from in terms of safety as well, of course. But certainly in terms of battery, just have a think about which shots you're going to get and that type of thing. And
I think also in winter time it's really more important, and also summertime, because heat can have an effect on the batteries, but also cold can have an effect on the batteries. So. But at the same time, cold can have an effect on you.
Yes, exactly.
And that's something that we don't think about. So cold having an effect on you, and you have a cold head, you have cold fingers. I know when I've been doing some shots that I'm very happy with, and I've suffered by having I've had numb hands for maybe 2 weeks. But getting that shot has been worth it because I planned it quite well.
Yes.
But it's you really have to think about and plan.
That's right.
And even from the hobby side, I do this even from the hobby side. Plan ahead. Where are you going to do? What are you going to do? Rather than be flying unnecessarily because you could have wind. Yeah. Wind is something which can change from let's say various heights, because even if you are you're at ground level and there's no wind, you could be okay. It's fine. There's no wind, so I can fly to wherever. You can get up to 50 meters, up to 80 meters, up to 100 meters, and the wind can be significantly different. At all those different levels. And that can have an effect on
Yes.
how your drone performs.
Exactly. And on the live stream we did 2 live streams ago, we're talking about where you can fly your drone. We went through the UAV forecast app to show that the forecast apps are very good at showing you what is predicted from the point of view of gusts. And, you know, a 10-mile-an-hour wind at ground level could easily be 35, 40 up at 100 meters. Easily.
Very easily. And in fact, I would say 9 out of 10
Yeah.
it actually usually is.
Yes, exactly. If you've got any wind down here, it's going to be a lot more up there. And it doesn't take much height for that to change, multiply by a couple of times even.
Again, I'll just reiterate this, so I'm sorry for repeating it. Even if you have no wind down here, if you have no wind at all,
Yes.
never take for granted that there's no wind up there, because there can be wind and it can be much stronger up there.
Exactly.
So we always, because again, that's one reason why you could lose your drone. And because you have no wind down here, you kind of go, okay, so what happened? But
And really, the first time you know is because your Mavic Mini is going that way when you're telling it to come towards you, and it's still going away. Yeah, it's not a nice feeling. One thing actually, a question in the chat for anybody that would know this actually, and I haven't got the Mini 2 yet myself. It is something I'm going to add to my collection at some point. I'm probably going to sell my Mini 1 first before I do that, but yeah, he's actually wondering, because it's a LiPo battery in there, whether or not the Mini 2 discharges itself in the same way. I think they are still intelligent batteries, so I think it probably does. But it's a very good question. If anybody in the chat knows that, then please let us know. But it's a good question, Skycam Video. Thank you. And then obviously the next thing to do is, obviously once everything's turned on, make sure there's no on-screen warnings or issues, and carry out any calibration that might be needed. And yeah, make sure you've got a nice clear screen before you even think about pressing that takeoff button. Any warnings, that type of thing, try and deal with it first. Now, this is an interesting one. Verify your max height and return to home settings to suit the flight. And this is one on one of my top 10 tip videos for beginner droners. It's in there actually. This is really important because, of course, everywhere you fly is different, and you may fly at one place which is a big open field, and you set your return to home at 30 meters because you don't want it going too high and going up into higher winds. But then the next day you go and fly somewhere which is around a church or something, or it has trees and that type of thing, and actually 30 meters will have you flying into the side of a tree. So it's, and obviously there's obstacle avoidance sensors and that type of thing on a lot of the drones, but it's important to have that return to home setting where you need it for that flight, isn't it? Basically,
your environment changes, on a, let's say, like a daily basis. So you should always be aware. But again, I don't think many, I'm not sure how many people are really aware of all the settings and what they can do.
Yes.
And with the DJI Fly, I'm going back to this because I'm more used to, or there's obviously many of us who are more used to using DJI Go 4, which is okay, I still think it's a good application. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Agreed.
But of course the DJI Fly it's really trimmed down, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's great. But still there are people that are not going through the menus, they're not going through the actual user interface to know how things are, because I go, wow, this is just so easy, this is so simplified now. But again, but I have one issue, and of course this is something we are going to talk about here. I have one issue with the DJI Go, DJI Fly app.
The Fly app, yes.
And that is the satellite count.
Yeah.
It's tiny.
Absolutely.
And that I actually think that's quite dangerous, because I don't have the best eyesight. I do have these bifocal things here.
Yes.
So
if anybody's watching that works with Stephen, don't worry, he doesn't have the best eyesight. That's a great advert. Thank you, Stephen. Well done.
Well,
I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean.
But you know what I mean. And,
yeah.
but
I'm just putting you on the spot.
I have to check these satellites. I actually have to do this.
Yeah.
Just so
Yeah.
And
It's way more important than that, isn't it? It really should be. Before you take off, etc., there should almost be, what I would like to see is that if you press something on the screen, it makes that larger for about 3 seconds. So actually, if you just tap near where the satellites are or tap near where something is, it zooms just for a second and shows that information really clearly. I think that would be nice. But of course, they have to make these apps for a wide range of people. But
well, I have raised this issue with DJI, and they said they would do something about it, but the past few updates, they haven't done anything with it at all. So I'm thinking about doing a video about that. I don't want to be, I don't want to be over dramatic about it, but
but satellites are really important. I mean, because and that's our next part of it. That we need 10 or 12 satellites to know that everything is happening.
Yeah.
Minimum. That's the minimum, really, to allow these modern drones to really know where they are and what they're doing. And if you don't know that that's happening and it's going below the levels that you would like, then again, bad things can happen with your drone. So it is a very important thing. Let's hope they sort that very soon. So
if you're listening or if you're watching DJI, please do something about the satellite size. Just those figures on the DJI Fly app, because it needs to be bigger. Because when you look at the battery count, so it's actually quite big. So you have you can see. I would like the satellite count to be the same size as that.
I completely agree with you. Yeah, especially as the Fly app is the one that they're moving forward with, and if we see a Maverick 3, I didn't say that Maverick 3 thing. I don't want to, but if we do see one, that will probably be on that app as well. Because if you look over time, when they've moved apps, they've very rarely gone back to another app again. So,
but what is one of the main differences between the user interface with DJI Go 4 and DJI Fly app? And I'll tell you what it is. There's a black bar behind the all of the actual telemetry, but on DJI Fly, there's no black
no, that's
bar.
right. That's right. Exactly.
So it's very transparent, and that's why it's difficult to see.
Which is probably, from a UI point of view, someone from a design UI has said, "Oh, let's make it a nice clear background. It looks more modern." But actually, depending on what your camera's focused on, it isn't always helping you, which isn't good. And just a couple of other pieces to talk about is obviously on the pre-flight and just moving into the flight itself and this is something that I learned very early on from the flying club. It's also on your checklist, which is take off and hover for a few seconds just to check everything stability wise. Take off, and it's tempting, especially when you've been flying for a while, just to really go for it on the sticks and let that thing zoom off. And the problem is you're then finding out you've got an issue 40 meters up, 30 meters out, and your drone is now too far away or further away than it could have been. Whereas if you just take off, let it hover at about 10 meters or something, and just listen to it, make sure it sounds okay, give a little couple of movements of the stick, etc., and just make sure everything's hunky-dory, and then you can confidently push away.
Because you can also check that the satellite count is also steady as well, because the satellite count can actually change. It can get actually greater, which of course is good, but it can let's say depending where you are, but it can also drop. And at least when you see it dropping, you can bring the drone down again.
Yes, exactly. So, exactly. I completely agree. And then obviously this sounds obvious, but especially for any beginners out there, beginner hobbyists, climbing to a minimum safe altitude, and this is one that's on your list, to ensure that you're already avoiding any obstacles in the area. So if there's trees or a wall and that type of thing that you're in the area that you're flying, just to make sure that you're clearing everything. It's an important thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's also mentioned there is also starting the engines, which is good, is get used to pulling the sticks in rather than let's say pushing the automatic takeoff button. Really get used to doing it manually.
Although there's nothing wrong with that, of course, because for some people that's a little bit beyond their it's very hard to go from. Make sure if you do change from pressing just the takeoff button and going to the sticks, make sure it's something you do in a safe area, in an area that you're used to flying, etc. Don't try new things like I'm going to go fly this really complex river and waterfall, and I'm going to try it now. Try these new things when you can. But yes, anything that you can do to practice manual flight is fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic, and there's nothing. I don't know if I mean, you'll agree with this because you're a professional, but there's nothing nicer than pulling off an orbit in manual. The orbits from DJI are fantastic, but there's nothing like pulling one off and then afterwards going, "That was manual," and boy, it looks
You know
beautiful.
what? You know something? I've never once used any of the smart. Never once. I've never accessed. The only what.
So there's no smart tech on your in your professional ones, or
No.
you just don't use it. The 2 Pro and things. That's cool.
No,
That's cool,
but
though, man.
The only thing I use about is I maybe use tripod.
Yeah.
If I need to get a
Yeah.
second shot.
Well, no,
But I never-
that's just useful, isn't it? So
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool, though. It's good
but
to
I
know.
never use
'Cause-
orbit. I try to do it as manually as
Yeah.
possible. Just
So your stadium video that was all completely with that was all
yeah.
manual. That's superb.
yeah.
That's absolutely superb. I'm going to put another link in the chat to Stephen's channel. Because you should head over there and have a look at some of his flights. He's got a great one on a stadium that he flew, which actually explains how he got to fly that stadium as well, which I really did enjoy. Okay, shall we cleanse the palates and allow ourselves to have a couple of minutes off by watching an awesome viewer video. This one is from Norm at Aerial Videos Drone Photography, and this is in Barling in Essex, and it's just a fantastic video from the point of view of control, cinematography, there's that word, but also editing and color correction and getting things spot on in the edit. This is just a fantastic video. Take a look at this. So there we go. How fantastic was that?
That was a start. I really want to know what kind of drone he was using there.
He
He's
might have
definitely-
told me in his message actually, which I'll have to have a look and I'll come back to you on that. But we've got a couple of other videos of his that we're going to play out over the coming weeks. But just shows that when you have everything down, so you know what you're flying, the shots that you set up, and of course lots of hard work in the post as well, from the point of editing and color correction. And the way he brought out the reflections and everything there, just amazing.
But you know, one of the things which I can appreciate about that video is that the sky's changing every 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And the fact that he kept, his cool to get all those shots and still had the sky
Yeah,
that way.
exactly. Yeah.
That was a really impressive video. I can really appreciate that. I really
Exactly.
can. Absolutely stunning.
Just very quickly, hi to Jamie Wilderness Tour in the chat, to say hi to a few people in the chat. Stevie, Captain Life Connection, hi, in case I haven't seen these people. JSK, Johnny Mac 26, hello, sir. Mark Lum, one of our channel members, good to see you, sir. Channel members, remember we're doing a video meetup afterwards. There will be a link in the description for everybody to link in the description. I'm so used to saying that. There will be a link in the community tab for members. You'll get a members notification straight after the show, and you can pop in and say hi to us for a little while. Which I think Stephen might be joining us if it's.
I think I'll join you.
Yeah,
I think
it's very late though there. I always worry about you because you're at least an hour ahead of us at all times. So yeah,
2 hours ahead of you, but it's okay. Tomorrow's Friday.
Okay, well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
It's
Okay,
nice
so.
to meet the guys.
Yeah, exactly. Next up, we're going to talk about the checklist during the flight as well, which of course is important. There's some really good information on that checklist. Again, there's a link in the description to the flybyguys.com website, and you can download it there for free without registering and all that stuff. It's just something that these guys have given away to the community, which is awesome. One of the first ones there that obviously is very, very important is keep your eyes and ears out for air traffic, for other traffic. And we're not just talking about, a Cessna flying past, but that distant whirring of helicopter blades, the other drones as well, of course. Keeping an ear out for if you can hear the zipping of an FPV drone is quite important, and it's just really important, isn't it, to ensure that you're aware of what's happening in the skies around you as much as possible.
Absolutely, because the more popular that this genre is actually becoming, and the more accessible they are, the more that they are likely to be in your area.
Yes.
And it's happened to me. It's happened to me many, many times that I've been flying. And what actually can be confusing is that you hear a drone and you think it's your drone.
Yes.
And then you start to control it and it's not doing what you should be doing. And you go, oh, that's not. And that actually creates a lot of confusion, and that's when you can easily crash because you're bringing the drone down, it's not doing anything, you see it, and then you start to panic. So being very aware of your airspace is critical. It's absolutely critical.
Completely agree. And also, of course, whilst you're checking everything, be aware of your battery observation. And again, depending on what you're doing, if you're sat at 50 meters and you want to go up to 100 meters and your battery is coming down to 30-something%, might not be the time to take that drone battery particularly up, because you're going to want to make sure you've got plenty of time to come down, and that you're not coming down on the beeps of death, as it were, or the landing, the forced landing is the DJI one. And remember as well that your battery life will change, again, as Stephen was saying before, from the point of view of the wind getting stronger with increased altitude, but also temperatures dropping and that type of thing. If you go out and it's particularly cold that day, especially in the UK at the moment, the temperatures are all over the place. We could be flying in 15 degrees, and then the next day we could be flying in 6 degrees, which with real feel is 4 degrees. And your flight time is going to change depending on the weather and the conditions, etc. So just be aware of that and monitor your battery life, because that is your one of your biggest friends, frankly.
Just a quick question to the people in the chat, or the viewers. At what percentage do you return when you see your battery? So at what point do you
put a
want
percentage
to
number in the chat? Yeah, let us know that. It'd be interesting to see.
I'm really keen to because I think everyone's different. Me myself, I come down to about 30%. Once it's at 30%, it's very nearby. It's really nearby. I never take it down to 25.
I agree. Absolutely agree with you there. It's 100%, very, very similar to myself. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see people's percentage numbers and be honest.
L Smeghead is saying he's on the ground at 20. He's living on the edge.
He's a brave boy though. He's a good pilot as well, actually. Welsh Rob is saying 40%. Simon Everett 30%. Andy Keast 30%. Digital Kite Aerial Photography and Videography is saying 30%. Matt Preston 5%, and Pucker Mabati. Yes. Well, we've all been there, haven't we? Where we've pushed it that little bit further, and then we're finding actually when it's coming back, and that's normally what then teaches you to add another 5%. The 5% is brave, but good on you for admitting it.
Yeah, that's a very brave man. Yeah,
And of course, as the drone flight, as the drone life and the duration you're able to stay in the air increases, we're able to be a bit safer as well, aren't we? Because once you've been up there for 20 minutes or so, actually coming back down with a 30% battery is a lot easier than it used to be. Even with my my crashed Bebop 1, which is on the wall here, that was up for about 8 minutes. You'd have to start thinking about landing it. So I mean that helps an awful lot. Lots of 30% there, a couple of 20s. Stevie, capture life connection 20% unless I feel the distance is an issue. Yeah, no, I can feel that. And it is something that comes with experience as well, of course, isn't it? So yeah.
I mean, even even with my experience, I just don't take the chance. I never take it. I'm always at 30.
Agree with
come
you.
back, even if I think, okay, I can get this one shot. It isn't worth it.
No,
it's
indeed.
just not worth it.
Completely agree with you. Okay, so moving on to emergencies during the flight, and again, there's a little on the side of the Fly-ByGuys checklist. There's a little area there which highlights what to do in emergency situations, and again, it's a really well put together piece of paper. The first one, of course, which is something that I would wholeheartedly recommend, is be ready to land your drone at a safe position away from the home point. There's sometimes an obsession that gets into you that the drone has to come back to exactly where you are, and that's what I was saying about in the pre-flight as well. Go for a little walk and check where else you could land that looks safe, there's no one there, and somewhere that you can be able to recover your drone from that's closer to where you're actually flying to, so that you don't have that issue, which I think is quite important, because it doesn't always have to come all the way back, of course.
No. And, obviously checking if there are people around as well,
Yes.
obviously. That's also very, very important. And then, of course, you have, let's say maintain VLOS, which we shouldn't even have to discuss because...
Of course, yes, because no one does it. No, yes, because it is absolutely the number one. Keeping your drone in visual line of sight is very important. Although, did you notice, you may not have read the CAP 722 yet, but there is actually an allowance for the smaller drones, the Mini 2s, etc., on a orbit, on an automated orbit, that they can actually go beyond visual line of sight for a few moments.
Yeah.
So if it's an orbit that goes behind a tree, it does actually allow for it if it's on an automated mode. I found that quite interesting for drones that of that size that aren't necessarily going to have side sensors and that type of thing. So there's some interesting things in that document. I've got some more EASA drone rules videos coming up on the channel in the next couple of weeks. So keep an eye out for those. And obviously, if you can, and you've got any kind of emergency going on, either the drone is becoming uncontrollable or there's other aircraft in the area, etc., descend to a safer height. If you are flying high, bring that bird down a little bit so that you can assess what's going on, preferably to where you can really see and hear it. But even if you're 100 meters, you're not going to don't leave it there to sort out issues. Bring it down a little bit. I mentioned this briefly before, but one of the things I would also recommend is not to automatically hit the return to home button too quickly. I don't know if you would agree with that.
It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
It just depends on the situation, and I think it's something that you can judge, by yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't often do it. I don't often do it myself.
I think I've hit return to home about 3 times in my entire, and two of those was actually testing it.
Yeah,
that it works.
Ones that I can honestly remember.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 or 3, maybe, but once I can definitely remember. I don't know if you've ever seen the picture that I have. It's on my Instagram page, but where I have all the ship containers, and I'm looking down on the ship containers, and I was flying above these, and it was really windy, and I was bringing the drone back, and it was so windy that the drone wasn't wanting to respond too much.
Wow.
And I hit return to home, and it came home faster. It actually just came home faster. So
excellent. So the software took over.
Yeah, and I was quite relieved actually, because I just felt. But again, it's something which I remember extremely well because
yes,
I never
indeed,
used these things
imprinted on your brain. Yes, indeed.
And actually, just keeping on the same subject, it just shows you how much that even though I don't hit return to home, but these abbreviations are so much in our head. I was
Yes.
driving the other day, and there was a car in front of me where the registration number was RTH, and I'm going, return to home. And
Your OCD was kicking in. You're like, hang on, you've got to go home now. You can't go to the shops. Go home.
It's, you know, it's
Because
just, I mean,
the-
you just.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
just live and breathe. You just live and
Yeah,
breathe
yeah.
this whole
Oh,
environment.
completely.
You're driving down the road and you see.
You know how much
it.
OCD I have, so yeah, absolutely. And where I would recommend from a return to home point of view is that one thing to assess before you hit that button is what's going to happen to the drone. If it's at 30 meters and it's struggling, hitting return to home when you've got your return to home set at 60 meters is going to use more battery. And it's okay. The software takes over, like Stephen's story, where the software can actually sometimes bring the drone back quicker and more efficiently than any joystick control can. But just assess whether or not that's the right thing to do, because again, actually just landing the drone somewhere you can see, somewhere that's safe, you're going to get your drone back. Basically, it's not going to fly away. It's not going to fall out of the sky and cause damage, which is something quite interesting.
Absolutely.
This is one thing that I do. The times it's happened, I mentioned my little Bebop one behind me here that crashed, and that was actually essentially a flyaway. It just flew straight over my head, went over a couple of hedges, and landed on a farmer's lane. Luckily, the field that I was practicing in was in the middle of a huge farm, which they hire out the field to our flying club, and it just crashed down and smashed the camera. My poor little Bebop one, I actually logged. I felt a little silly doing it, but I did actually log the crash. I did make a record of the crash. I took a couple of photos of it, one because of insurance, but also, which actually I didn't end up claiming on, but also just for my own paperwork, essentially, just so I had a record of what had actually happened, just in case anybody said, actually, I saw a drone crash on that field. What happened? And it gets reported. And these days, with remote ID coming, that could easily come back to you, couldn't it?
I think it's a really important thing. What we do here, the drone community in Finland, is that if that kind of thing were to happen, we would actually report that.
Yes.
We would actually report it to the authorities. So even the smallest crash, any kind of accident, we are encouraged to actually report it. But, they don't want you to encourage. They don't want you to report it so they can tail you off.
Yes.
They want you, they just want you to get into this routine,
Absolutely.
like
Absolutely.
an aviator. That any kind of incident, doesn't matter how let's say how serious or not serious it is, it should be reported, so they can get the statistics, so they can just see the balance of what's happening, because it gives them a much better idea, and that helps them to make, let's say, certain decisions, and also
Yes.
maybe even send that information to likes of DJI and stuff like that. So I do encourage, and what we do with our operations is that we do drone flight logs and stuff. We actually use Horizon, and we log everything. So we log
Absolutely.
everything, every flight.
And we're talking hobbyists as well. Hobbyists, it's important to
Absolutely.
have some paperwork of what you're doing as well. I know that especially DJI flyers, that they'll have the DJI logs and people download those and that type of thing, which is awesome. But just a little handwritten. If there is an incident on a flight, it's good just to get that down on paper. Sam Rivera in the chat there. Hi, he's a newbie to drones and he got a Mini 2. Well done, sir. They're awesome. Do I need to register it? Do I need to apply for a license to fly it? If you're in the UK at the moment, I'm presuming you're in the UK, please let us know in the chat. At the moment, you do not need to register it. You will need to register it after December 31st, so it's coming pretty soon. And that's with the DMARES, the Drone and Model Aircraft Registration and Education Scheme. You will need a flyer ID and an operator ID. The operator ID will be put onto your drone. The flyer ID, it's good to keep that piece of paper on you to prove to anybody that wants to know. So that's from January, and it's really a privacy issue. The reason that's come up, because it has a camera that can record data essentially. However, one thing I would like to stress, and I retweeted a tweet from North Yorkshire Police drone operator Paul today, that just because you have registered your drone or anything else like that, you must remember to still follow the drone code and to still follow the rules. the air navigation order. You can get the drone code. If you put UK drone code into any Google, it'll bring you up a PDF from the CAA, which will explain everything about what you should and shouldn't be doing, keeping below 400 feet, not going within 150 meters of a congested area, that type of thing. Very, very important. There is a series of the upcoming rule changes on the Geeksvana channel. There's a playlist which you'll find on the homepage, which you might find quite interesting, sir. And yes, Sam has confirmed in the chat that he or they, I don't want to say you're a man with a name like Sam automatically, but yes, you're in the UK. But happy flying, enjoy the drone. It's an awesome drone, especially with the OcuSync. Just memorize that drone code and get ready to register. A lot of people that have bought the Mini 2 in the UK are actually already registering it, just to be ahead of the curve, which I don't blame them for at all, actually. Okay, should we have another?
Also,
yes.
Sam, make sure you download the pre-flight checklist. It's good, even that you're just starting out. Start to do the pre-flight checklist because it's good to do it at this point. Then it just becomes natural to you, and that's one of the biggest tips. And
exactly.
just
and in actual fact,
fly safe.
And Andy Elsmakehead has actually put the link to the drone code in there as well, which is fantastic. Andy, could you Google the flybyguys.com website and put a link in there for him as well? And also, yes, Cradospace Drones, thank you. Have we mentioned the NATS Drone Assist app to help him? That's another thing, Sam. Anybody that's new in the UK, especially the Drone Assist app, go into your Play Store, or is it iStore on iOS, Apple Store? What's it called in that cult?
The App Store.
In the cult, yeah, the cult of Apple. There you go. That's me banned forever now. That's me black marked from Apple. Oh, Apple, I'm only joking.
I should have said PSN, shouldn't I? I should have said PSN.
Whatever. Okay, so yes, that's unfortunately, I apologise to everybody. Stephen is trying to talk about PlayStation on an Xbox channel.
Oh, but today was the launch of the PlayStation 5 in Europe.
Yeah. Okay.
How many people in the chat have bought a PlayStation 5?
We seem to have lost Stephen. Hello, Stephen.
How many people have bought
right.
a
Okay, everybody in the
5?
chat, Xbox if you prefer Xbox, PSN if you prefer PlayStation. Let's see what happens. But yes, Sam, the NATS Drone Assist app, if you go into your app store, it's a fantastic one, and it shows you so many things about the ground issues that you might find as far as railway lines and power lines, all sorts of things, all the way through to no-fly zones and that type of thing. There's lots of PC coming in, actually. That's the one we forgot to mention, isn't it?
Lots of PSN
whilst that little argument is kicking off in the chat, shall we have another palette cleanser of a video?
Yes, we shall.
This is a short clip from one of Stevie, Capture Life Connection, who is an Xbox man. Good man. I'm definitely playing your video now, Stevie. Who's a fantastic part of it. He's also a great videographer, frankly. His videos always have a bit of chat in there as well, and are always very interesting. And here's a short video of actually he went out exploring and found an old abandoned castle house type thing. So let's have a quick look at this. Are you about to say something?
I was going to say, or is it a folly?
Yeah, indeed. It's now. I get a week off, Lib, picking on me. Thank you, Mr. Sutton. I'm leaving. And in fact, let's put a bit of focus on you here.
What?
Are you conspiring with Lib Marie, my co-host from the other Thursday show, the Drone Show, to pick on me in her absence?
Well, I was going to send her a message, but I know she's busy just now. So. Yeah.
Okay, here's the video. Enjoy.
I don't know whose house this is, but it's in the middle of the woods. And look at this. Wow. We found the bathroom, now we found the house.
we're arguing in the background whether it's a castle or a folly. I actually think it's a house, personally. I'm not sure it has the structural... We'll have to get a structural engineer out there to analyse and...
It's going to be a long night tonight, isn't it?
The debates of cast. You never know where a stream goes, do you? I thought that perhaps we'd debate, Xbox and PS5. Oh, no, sorry, I'm bringing that up again. There were a lot of people actually talking about Atari, and the 48K ZX Spectrum actually came up in the chat a few times, which is awesome.
Someone said, who was it? It was actually Andy Keith says Commodore 64.
Yeah.
And then actually El Smeghead and Wilderness, they said ZX Spectrum 40. I used to have a ZX Spectrum 48.
I started on the Atari with the Diggums and that type of thing. That's where I found my love for computers. So, gaming certainly. I know people still wouldn't call that a computer as such. But Steve, you captured Live Connection. There's Andy's just very kindly put the link to his channel in there. Pop over and have a look. He has some really great videos. He's growing as the weeks and videos roll on, as far as his skills and everything is concerned. And it's great to see things from a different perspective, and also, of course, seeing things. I'm over here in Blighty in the UK, and it's great to see what's happening over in New York State. Which hopefully, once all this is over, I will be over there to fly with you guys very soon. So I'm really looking forward to that. Now we have a subject before we move on to the after-flight care, a short subject that I know you wanted to raise, Stephen, which was METARs and the windy.com. We're going to play out a clip from your channel, from your latest video, the Winter is Coming video, which is awesome. But you wanted to chat about it first before we play that.
Yeah, so I think this really follows on from what we were discussing earlier about how to deal with the actual propellers. So when you're flying, especially in wintertime, a lot of people tend to think that when it comes to wintertime, okay, I will put the drone away. So, it's like, okay, winter's here, so we put the drone away. I'll bring it back out in March or April or something. That's not really the case. But then you do get people who do fly, and then they have accidents because they lose the drone. Now, they don't really know why they've lost the drone, but one reason why they can lose the drone is they have ice build-up on the actual on the props themselves. Now, it's really hard to know when you're outside. It's difficult. In fact, it's almost impossible, because you can say that it's minus or minus 10 or
but you adjust to it as well, don't you?
Yeah, of course. But how do you know when you're not going to get ice? Well, there's a very, very good way, and in this video that I've actually created, this week, I actually talk about how to spot having ice build up on your props. Windy.com gives you very accurate weather all over the world. So it doesn't matter where you're doing operations, whether we're here in Helsinki or whether we are somewhere else in another part of Europe, we can still get the same type of weather reports using METARs, and that's how we judge whether we can fly or not, or any precautions that we have to take. Let's have a look at Windy.com. Windy.com is a great application which gives you access to weather wherever you are, but also airports. Here we can have a look at the METAR for Helsinki. I don't want to focus on this because it's not that cold here at the moment, because we only have 6 degrees with a 6 degrees dew point as well. But let's go up north. Let's go to Lapland, the land of Santa Claus. Let's find Kuusamo. Kuusamo is a good place because it's usually cold at this time of year. There we have Kuusamo there. So if we open up Kuusamo, we can see the METAR, and we can see here quite clearly that it's -4 with a -4 for dew point as well. So this is a very high risk of freezing on the propellers. So very, very good to know that you not only do you have freezing on the propellers, but there's a very minimal amount of cloud as well. So the clouds are very low. So this gives you a good indication of how you can fly, where you can fly, and how safe it is to fly. Not just by looking outside and sticking your head out the window, but actually looking at the actual data. Now, this is how the aviators fly. This is how they judge when they come into land or when they go and take off. So when we can also do the same. It's easy for our operations. If you have to fly, maybe you don't want to have an accident. Maybe you don't want to lose visual line of sight of your drone because the clouds are too low.
you can get that information here. Maybe you don't want to have frozen propellers and maybe lose your drone. One way to also know if your propellers are freezing is to hear the motors running a bit slower when they're in the air. I think in the DJI Go 4 app, you can also see the revs as well of the motors. And if you see that starting to dip, that's a good indication that maybe there's some ice on the propellers. But if you use windy.com, check the METARs, then you won't have that in the first place. So what about you? Will you start using METARs for your drone operations? Whether you're a hobbyist or whether you're on the professional side, we all have to be safe. So to make sure that your drone will be safe and others around you, it's always good to use METARs.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that, Stephen. And just in case you couldn't tell, that's from the Fly-ByGuys channel. Because the Fly-ByGuys on your t-shirt, on your hat, and then I put it on the screen as well. I think people definitely know it's from the Fly-ByGuys. What do you reckon? And in fact, I'm putting a link to Stephen's channel in the chat again. And you know, Stephen is a very busy chap. He has drones are his passion, his life, his hobby, and his profession. And I really appreciate him coming along and spending every other Thursday with us. Sometimes from Munich hotel rooms, and you know. Sometimes with clock differences at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I really do appreciate it, sir. So you know, it's awesome.
I really do think that we have a really fantastic community. The whole drone community. We have a great community. Everyone is so nice. Everyone's so good. Everyone wants to learn. Everyone wants to discuss.
Yeah.
And you know, I love going on. You know, sitting on the chats, whether it's yours or you know whether it's the other guys and stuff like that. It's just, you know.
Sorry, I'm only laughing from Andrew from Crowded Space Drones. Stephen is the legend of the industry in Europe, and he is. That didn't make me laugh. So helpful despite his gruff appearance. That's just
you know.
Is he saying that Scottish people look gruff? I don't think that's very nice.
This is Andrew trying to charm me to get me to join Crowded Space Drones.
And change your
trying.
name. You know
trying.
that.
Just,
yeah.
You know, I don't think he spotted. I don't think he spotted the thing, has he?
No, I don't think anyone spotted that there is a secret thing on here related to Crowded Space Drones somewhere in the design of our stream this evening. We'll see if anybody spots it. Okay, so returning to our flight list, I wanted to touch on a few parts as far as after the flight. So once the flight's happened, you've landed, you've come home. There are a few things on the checklist, actually, on the Fly-ByGuys checklist, which talk about what to do immediately when you land, which are excellent. But when you get home, it's worth just having another look over the drone itself. And I'll use the Mini for this one because this is the kind of drone that, with obviously, you know, slightly, shall we say, less rigid construction, obviously to keep it under that 249 grams. You're going to find things like stress fractures, if you get anything like a bird strike, that type of thing, which could happen particularly on these parts of the arms. When, you know, usually when something hits it, you will often find your drone on the ground like this because it's hit that particular arm. But a lot of the time I found actually sometimes I have damage from something striking it, which actually I haven't even realized that it's happened, because these things are so, even these little minis are so stable in the air that when something does hit it, sometimes you don't even know about it. So it's just worth checking every little part of the drone just to make sure everything is okay, isn't it?
Absolutely. And also even check your battery that it's still in place, because if you land, it can, you know, it can jolt. One thing which happened to me, which I don't think is actually on here, because actually I just want to give a shout out to Marcus, our pilot, one of our pilots.
One of your team.
He actually made this, and he's, you know, he's such a great guy, and you know, he's such a passionate aviator, and he was the one who actually made this for us. So thank you. Thanks, Marcus. And you know, he's actually flying his helicopter this weekend. He flies in him, so he's actually a helicopter pilot. And but yeah, one thing that one thing I found when I was flying the Phantom, I landed the Phantom, and my SD card popped out.
Wow. And
I walked away, went to the next site, and then put the drone up in the air and noticed that there was no SD card in there. And I had to go back. And and luckily I noticed that that when it popped out, it landed in a certain place, and I went back and it was there.
Yes.
But, you know, all these kind of really, you know, let's say intricate and almost silly things, they can happen to you, and they
Oh
might
yeah,
happen to you,
yeah,
you know.
absolutely, absolutely.
You know, I mean, that's one of the good things I think about, you know, about the Mavic is that you have the compartment. So, so the SD card is actually
Exactly.
sealed, so
Yes.
it's good.
Yes.
But the Phantom, that I was
Yeah,
quite shocked at the SD card popping out, because I had a lot of data on that. And
You'd be like, hang on, I want that back. And again, one of the reasons why I pulled this out to show from the point of view checking afterwards is actually you can see here on my drone when I get it to focus there, and bring it into shot, you see a bit of blood there. So it has actually come into contact with something in the sky there. So again, it's worth just checking over and making sure that everything's okay and that you don't have any hairline cracks and that type of thing, especially in these smaller, lighter weight drones, because that can really wreak havoc on it, unfortunately. And one thing I always do as well is I unfold the drone out again to make sure, don't just have a look at it in situ in its folded up sort of state, but I actually clean my drones when I bring them home. I don't know about you.
I sometimes I do, yeah. If if I have
like
time.
to clean it and talk to it. I like to give it a wipe down and check that my Air 2 is okay and it's feeling all right after its flight, and tell it. You should always tell your drone just how well it's done and what a great little drone it is. What's that, Air 2? You're feeling intimidated by Steve's Mavic 2 Pro. Oh, don't worry.
Can someone please call the police, please? And send
Yeah,
them
two blinks and we'll send help. Just very quickly, thank you, Big G UAV. Hello, sir. £10 super sticker. That's extremely generous of you. Thank you. And it's the little man jumping up and down, #1 fan. Well, I really, really appreciate it. The support everyone's showing for our channel so far on our short journey so far has been immense. And words for once escape me.
Yes.
Which is very rare for me, isn't it? But there we go.
Yes, that's true.
It's
Big G UAV. Is that George? Is that George?
Is that George? I wasn't. You mean George Wrigley?
Yeah.
I'm not sure actually.
Big G UAV. Is that you, George?
I think George is on a different name actually. I think his is Big RC UAV.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
It
I think
is.
there's an
It
RC
is.
in his name or
It is.
something. But
Hi, George.
yeah. Excellent. So yes, next up, check the props when you get back home. When you do check your props, check it with a light source. The absolutely best thing to do, of course, is hold it up to a daylight window and just give it things a little wiggle and just make sure everything is as it should be. You don't tend to get issues with most of these props because even the Parrot Bebop 2 is actually, they're forced on there, so it has to be something really bad for one of those to be coming loose. But just give everything the once over. As I say, have a little chat with it, make sure it's feeling okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Care for your drone.
Literally. When I put in the title "Care for Your Drone," I really meant that.
Absolutely. I know you did, but you didn't say you were talking to it.
Well, yeah. Okay. Ensure your batteries. I'm moving on now.
You could be the drone whisperer.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. What? So are you telling me you don't take your Mavic Air 2 to bed at night and tuck it in next to you under the duvet?
No.
Okay. This is getting weird, isn't it?
Have you seen my wife?
Is that a compliment to your wife? Or not?
Absolutely.
Actually, I've seen your wife, and yes, that is a compliment to your wife. Yes. I wondered if you were saying, "Have you seen my wife?" Of course, I take my drone to bed.
No.
Yeah, Simon Everett. Channel is having a weird twist. Yes, this in 6 months' time, you might come back and the videos are ASMR of me talking to my Mavic Air 2 close up into a ring light. Hello, Mavic Air 2. Have you had a good day? Yes, Sean, I've had a good day. Yeah, yes, that's the Mavic Air 2's voice. But yes, also, and then just ensure that your batteries, again, have survived, check them for warping, that type of thing. And I always recommend popping them into a fireproof bag and just making sure that you are safely stored away, frankly.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Michael, actually Mikael Buchdale, who's actually a Finnish friend of mine who's living in Ireland. Hi, Mikael. He's asking, can you explain the frequency of water, and should I change the frequency when I fly?
Now, this was a tweet that you put out that a couple of us silly, immature drone pilots decided to ruin with memes.
Yes,
but it was actually a
yes.
very serious point that you were trying to make.
It was a serious point. I mean, should we be discussing this now? I don't know. I mean, we can briefly talk about it. It's. I have this, I have this theory that the majority of drone crashes over water, or
Yes.
or people losing their drones over water, are blaming it on like batteries and losing signals. But why is that? And that is well, I think there's a good reason for this. And the frequency of water itself is 2.4 gigahertz.
Okay.
And if we're flying it at that same frequency, that can
That
have
could
an
be a
effect
problem.
because
Yeah.
it can be a problem. So, and it seems to be that I was talking with someone in the industry a few weeks ago, and we were just having a very serious conversation about this, and he was just saying that because if you fly behind trees, so if the drone is kind of behind the trees, 50% of trees are made of water. So that's why we have the issue with it, and that's why. So I think this is a subject for something else. I think we should talk about this
No,
at some other
indeed,
point.
indeed. It's an interesting one, though.
Yes, there's. I think that there's an issue with
Two other things I would
say.
say. Firstly, about water. If you're flying over water, try and keep some distance between your drone and the water. It's very tempting to get down there and have that smooth shot, almost clipping the waves. But of course, your downward sensors will not enjoy that. The undulation of the water and the changing mass below it, and also trees. Remember trees now with your obstacle avoidance. That obviously as we're going into winter, there's less leaves on it, so just be careful when you've got branches, etc. Sometimes you will have the drone actually fly through the gap and then get itself caught. So don't assume that your obstacle avoidance sensors are going to see large trees without leaves.
El Smeghead has just said to me, or he's just asking, what is he asking there? What are the other trees made of then? Okay, I missed. I should say that trees, the 50%
The composite
is actually water. So
yes.
That's what we meant. So that's why it's having.
We were talking about the composite, but thanks for the humour there, Andy.
Yes.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Speaking of humour, tonight at 1 a.m. UK time, which is 7 p.m. Central, you can head over to the Ken Heron channel and watch Thursday Night Live. Tonight he's got a co-host, the very sexy Jake Sloan. He's a very good-looking man who really knows his cameras. And it's the FPV god, Joshua Bardwell, that's actually on there this evening, which is going to be good fun. Everyone head over and have some fun with that one. So as I say, just a very quick reminder as well that channel members after the show, we'll be putting the link into the membership section, and you'll be able to come across and have a hangout with myself and Stephen for a few minutes after the show and have a chat about things drones and things not drones, and watch me talking to my drones.
And me not talking to my drones. I can talk to the members.
You can talk to the members, exactly. Why on earth not? Now we have
if we can tell the viewers we've got something really cool coming up. We have something amazing to share with you all. We managed to get a really awesome guest on
Stephen
the next
managed.
show,
Yes.
Which is in 2 weeks' time. So our show in 2 weeks' time.
3rd of December.
3rd of December, we are going to have Austin Choi Fitzpatrick, who is the author of the latest book, The Good Drone, which I suggest that you go and buy because it's absolutely an amazing book. The guy is how can we say this?
He's approaching the subject from an existential, from a theoretical, and from an overarching point of view. This will not be a show where we're talking about where does the battery go in your drone. We're going to be talking about what makes a good drone, where are drones going. There's a fascinating section of the book that actually talks about how to dress yourself, including how to mask your face to stop drones being able to pick you up from a facial recognition point of view and that type of thing. So it's going to be a very different show with an absolutely fascinating and interesting guest who's got some great views, and we're going to be coming at the whole subject of drones in a very, very different direction, and I'm so excited. And well done, Stephen, for reaching out and getting Stephen to come. Austin Choi Fitzpatrick to come and join us. It's going to be fantastic.
So make sure that you don't miss the show in 2
Yes.
weeks' time, because it's
And don't
going-
miss it next
and-
week either. But
Yeah,
I'll tell Liv
and
not to take that personally.
But I don't think he's. I mean, if you look at all these, all the YouTube channels and stuff, he hasn't been on this. So this is the first time that he's making
Yes.
an appearance with the drone community.
That's right.
So I'm very excited. I'm very honoured.
I know,
and I
it's
cannot
very
wait to. So please make sure you join that, because it will be a fascinating subject, and I hope it inspires you all, because it certainly, that book inspired me more so.
Yes, exactly. Okay, well, on that note, we're going to say thank you very much and good night to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us in the chat. It's been fascinating to read all of your messages. I will be going back and watching afterwards to pick up on any questions that come up often, so that we can bring those up on future shows and future videos as well. It's very important. Members, remember the link will go in the community tab in the next couple of minutes. So we'll see you when you're ready to join us. But yes, Stephen, have a great couple of weeks. We'll see you again soon, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Play
Peace out,
safe.
everybody. And yeah, indeed.
Flight crew, please prepare for departure.
Do you like that?